This is a 1,070 acre grazing property near Burnt Creek in Victoria. It's got pretty standard stock fencing with plain, barb and offset power that works a treat with the cattle that it's supposed to keep behind the fence line. But like a lot of properties these days, there are issues with this type of fencing when it comes to lifestyle blocks beginning to abut the property. Now the fence that did really well keeping the stock in has to keep domestic animals like dogs out, and it's failing. As is often the case in these situations, the fence has been added to. They've put more steel on, and that's failed too. We've got this light duty mesh that's been burrowed underneath. It's had some tomato stakes added to it over here, but they're going to run out of tomato stakes pretty quick. This light duty mesh is just not up to the job. If you're going to do something like this, at least use heavy duty mesh. Today we're going to use something even better. We're replacing a section of fence that's got inline strainers, and that means that we're going to need to install some new end assemblies, one at each end of that fence section, to tie the old fence off onto, but also to maintain the strain of the new fence that's going to be running 8/90/15 prefabricated wire. Now the owner of this property is moving away from treated pine because it's not only very expensive in terms of labour to install, but it's failing earlier and earlier. Instead, the owner's moving towards the Rotek Drive Tight steel end assembly system because not only does it erect very, very quickly with lowered labour costs, but it's also really strong and stays put once it's put in. Now we're going to show you two ways of installing these end assemblies. One as a permanent end assembly at the end of a gateway, the other as a temporary end assembly until we strain off some more mesh on the other side of the fence. But of course, before we do any of that, we've got to pull the old fence out. Now we're hoping to do this job in a day, so we've got to be as quick as we can. Let's get into it, and then let's throw up some new intermediate posts and run out our 8/90/15 prefabricated wire. It's good Australian made stuff and it's Aussie owned, so the profits stay here. So meet today's hero. We've got Murray Stiff Stay 8/90/15 prefabricated mesh. It's an Australian made product. It's heavily galvanised and the company is Australian owned, so the profits stay here. This is going to create a barrier not only for the livestock, but also for the domestic animals and the neighbouring lifestyle property, so that the old adage of good fences make good neighbours will never be truer. Now, of course, removing old fencing is just as dangerous to your peepers as putting up new fencing. So on with the speed dealers, out with the Nipex. Let's get into it. Installing your Drive Tight end posts is really easy. Of course, the first thing you've got to do is decide where you want to put your post. We're keeping it in line with the rest of the boundary fence naturally, but we're also choosing to bring it across a little bit and realign this gateway that's been a bit crooked for a while. So our paddock fence now lines up with the boundary fence. Now that you've decided where your post is going, dig a hole about 30 centimetres by 30 centimetres where your post is going to go. This is so that the post, when it's driven in the ground, will have the slots below the surface of the ground. Those slots are going to contain your anchor plates that the steel posts are going to be driven into as skew anchors. Now I like to line those slots up across the boundary fence so that the anchors go in along the boundary fence. You're not going to hit them with machinery, and they'll also be in the direction of strain. This really can be a one-man job to do an end assembly in under 10 minutes. I haven't completely driven in the steel posts. I've left them sticking an inch or two out of the tabs, but certainly under the surface of the soil that I'm going to pack in back around the post. These are 1.65 steels, both skewed in the ground. This is not going anywhere. But wait, there's more. We're going to set this up as a permanent end assembly with the loop around the post, because even though this is on a boundary fence and it's an inline strainer, it's a change of fence type. We've gone from 6 plain and 1 barb on this side to 8/90/15 that's going to be strained up a lot tighter on this side. So that means that this post is likely to move in this direction, and so that's the direction we're going to put the stay in. Of course, we don't need to mention that sometimes it's impossible to get tractors in to put an end assembly in place. These are the perfect solution. Check for level, check for level. Rightio mate, we're cooking with gas now. Now there's a bit of a slope to this block, so when we run out our guide wire along the ground and strain it up temporarily, we're going to be putting our intermediate steel posts in at a 4 metre spacing. We could creep this out to 5 metres in flatter country, but because the fence is going over a hill, we don't want it to sort of jag over the hill, so we're going to decrease the distance between our stock posts by 1 metre. And of course this will lead to a really strong fence, so if we've got stock on one side, dogs on the other, disaster should be averted. Now there's a fair hill here, so I'm walking the whole fence. I'm lifting it up and I'm allowing my arm to just flop from the shoulder to get me nice and straight with the tension of the wire. Sometimes when you're going over the top of a hill, you've got to let a little bit more tension off the wire so that you can lift it up over the crest and get the wire exactly in the right spot, because that's going to determine where our posts go. Now for the intermediate posts in this fence, we're using 2 types of post. We're using the standard galvanised stock post, which has 1.9 kilograms of high ductility steel per metre. And then for the change in direction at the top of the hill, we're going to be using a Stockpost XL. Now these only come in a 1.8, so you've already got more driven material into the ground, and they come in at a whopping 3.5 kilos of steel per metre. So this post here is 6 or 7 kilos. We're not mucking around, this fence is going to be strong. Now we're using a petrol post driver today, and so the fact that these posts come in pre-marked is really handy, because when you're using one of those machines, the posts go in really fast, and there's nothing worse than overdriving your post and having to pull it out. You want to put your post in also not quite to the bottom hole, you want your bottom hole about 1 centimetre off the ground. These posts all come pre-marked, and this mark here lets you line up other wires in your standard fences, because you know you're always 1 or 2 holes from the mark. Now that we've got the wire, now that we've got the ground wire tensioned up, we can fit our end assemblies and have them perfectly in line with the fence. To start doing that, you're going to need to undo your brace collar, and you're going to need to add this shaft. Now that goes into your down tube. Then you can fit your collar to the post and use the serrations in the back of it to work like Lego and just pop it all together. This is sheer genius. Now I'm leaving this loose at this stage just so that I can make final adjustments when I get my end assembly slotted together. Now I've located this between the top wire of the prefabricated mesh and the second wire down. This is an area of debate. Some people believe that with floating end assembly systems you should have the brace collar a bit higher. Some people always believe that it should be in the centre of the post, and this is slightly higher than that. I think this is a good compromise for this particular fence. So we're going to brace basically to the top of the prefabricated mesh. Make sure you use the grease that comes with the kit so that you don't bind up the threads when you're doing them up. It's really important. And once again, don't ever hold the eyelet bolt, put a piece of steel through it. That's the best way to lose a finger. Now this is a tip from Slim in Northern Victoria, and I'm in debt to him for it. Always give your fittings a bit of a tap in every space that there could be a bit of settling. Now we're going to put the collar on this post a little bit higher. This would be the standard position you'd put it in if you were coming underneath the top wire of the prefab mesh. But because we've got a steep hill that we're going into, that would mean that the stay would be almost flat, and we want to keep a bit of a downward angle to put some downward pressure on the stay plate. So I'm actually going to change the position of this collar to be above the prefabricated mesh and below the two top wires. So it's really important when you're putting up your stiff stay mesh that you replace all of the end assemblies, and a good steel stay end assembly is a really good go-to when you're using a product like this, because we are going to put a fair bit of tension on the fence. The old fence can hook up to this when we're finished. We're going to do the new section first with the stays supporting the end posts. Now it's really important when we roll the wire out that the large aperture holes are at the top of the fence when we finish, and the small aperture holes are at the bottom, because that's where the pressure from the animals trying to get through the fence is going to be. Now sometimes you get lucky and you can run this out so that the small holes are up against the posts at the bottom and all you've got to do is lift it up. Sometimes, as we have in this case, the hill's working against us, we're going to have to roll this out backwards and then just twist it around and lift it against the posts all the way down the hill. Now when the roll finishes off in the factory, they put a simple loop in the end of every line wire. So you can either bend those out or cut them off to release your roll ready to run out. Now I had a question recently about how to cut the stiff stay knots when you want to free up your line wires to do an end knot around the post. Now I'm going to remove this picket wire and this picket wire, so I need to cut some stiff stay knots. Here's how I do it. I come around to the side where you've got the unbroken wire, and then I hold the stiff stay against my cutters as hard as I can with my finger, and then just make a simple click, and she pulls straight off. So once again, hold your finger nice and hard against the knot, push into your finger, and she comes straight off. Now of course we can tie off the wire around each end post, but there's fiddly bits where we've got fittings that get in the way, and the 2.8 high tensile wire can be a bit tricky to tie. So I'm going to use a product called, unsurprisingly, the End Clip by Fence Line Solutions, and all I have to do is put a simple bend in each of the line wires in the same position from a crimp all the way down the wire, lining up my first picket wire, slip the clip on, pull it through, and then my fence simply clips together. Done. I've tested the fence line clips on my test bench at home, and I found them to be just as strong as a termination knot. And the good news is, compared to other devices that you can buy for this job, they're also remarkably cheap, coming in at well under $1 per clip. You're not adding a lot of money to your fence, and in fact, the time that you're saving in labour, you're making a profit by using them. As long as you get all of your kinks lined up, that'll mean that your fence starts out with a perfect lineup of your picket wire against the post, and all you've got to do is strain it at the other end. Job's done. This is the best part. Now we want to try and strain up the prefabricated mesh, but if we just lay it on the ground and strain it up, because we're going over a hill, we're going to put too much tension into it and it's going to be almost impossible to lift up. So instead what we're doing is we've taken the ground wire that we use to get our posts straight and we've tied that off to its final position for one of the top two plain wires on this fence. Then when we attach this to the posts, it's going to give us something to clip the mesh to between each post to hold the mesh up in its final position so that we get the tension right as we go over the top of the hill. Now it's really important, if we want the best results, that we use the best tools. So we are actually using a set of strainer boards to strain up our mesh. I know some people will use a couple of bits of timber with some bolts, but you get slippage and there's a danger of the timber breaking. Just for a couple of $100, get yourself a decent set of strainer boards. I'm also using some really good strainers here. I swear by these. These are the Wireman strain walkers, and they give me extra leverage so that it makes a difficult job super easy. This is not 100% necessary. You can just use ordinary strainers, but when you've got the option of using these guys, makes the job so much easier. Now I'm going to strain this fence up until it feels firm, but I'm not going to keep going until I pull all of the tension crimps out of the wire like some people think you should. It's actually important to leave the tension crimps in place because prefabricated mesh is designed to bounce and animals don't like wire that bounces. Not only that, but the tension crimps on a hilly job like this are going to make it super easy to keep a constant tension on our wire even as it goes over the crest of a hill. The little crimps will work to keep all of the line wires even with each other and under good tension. So we don't want to take them all out. We just want to get our wire to a point where as we walk down the fence, it's standing up under its own weight and it bounces like a trampoline. Once it's up to that tension and all the picket wires are straight, our fence is ready to tie off at this end and clip up, and job's done. Now we think we've got it to the right tension, but because we're on a hill, it's really important to walk the whole fence and make sure that it's not caught up on something up here and we tie it off and then it becomes all loose. So we're just going to walk the fence and make sure that we're happy with the result all the way along. Always clip your fence on so that the tails of the clips are pointing in towards the post. This avoids stock injury. So there you go, a fence finished in a day, really tight. This is not going anywhere because of the skewed footings, and it's an end assembly that you bolt together in under 3 minutes. So there you go, a great quality fence in a day. It's just been about choosing the right materials and making sure that what we put up is going to last the distance and we don't have to come back and put patches in fences that just don't work. They say good fences make great neighbours. These neighbours are going to be fantastic friends now. We've got the dogs on this side, we've got the cattle on that side. As long as the fence stays up, what could possibly go wrong? If you've got to put up a fence with your neighbour, or you know someone else who has to put up a fence with their neighbour, send them this video because there could be some great solutions in this that they haven't thought of. Make it easy and make it fun to put up a fence with your neighbours in under a day. If you like this kind of content, don't forget, hit the little subscribe button down there, give it a thumbs up, and there are links to the major products that have been used in this fence in the description below, so you can get onto this fantastic wire, these great end assemblies and the fantastic tools that we've used. And the best part is, all of the stuff that we've used today is Australian owned and high quality, so you'll be guaranteed of not only doing a safe job, but a fast one too. I'll catch you next week with something else.